The rain had just started. Cold drops fell on the empty streets of a small city as the train pulled into the station. Among the people stepping out was a young man in full military uniform. His name was Arav Malik. He looked tired, but proud. His back was straight, his shoes clean, and the medals on his chest shined even in the gray weather. A few people clapped when they saw him. A little boy saluted him. Arav smiled and nodded, placing his hand on his chest. After all, he had served. His country, he had followed every order. He had done everything right, or so he thought. As Arav walked out of the station, a familiar figure waited with an umbrella. His mother, Nazia Malik, stood there, eyes full of love and tears. She hadn't seen him in 2 years. "My son," she whispered, hugging him tightly. "I'm home, Ami," he said softly. For a few seconds, everything felt perfect, but peace doesn't last long when secrets walk behind you. From across the street, a black police van turned the corner. 3 officers stepped out fast. Their faces were serious, too serious. One of them, Officer Karen, was already holding a pair of handcuffs. Nazia noticed them and moved in front of her son. "What is this?" she asked, confused. "He just came home." Arav stood still. Officer Karan spoke coldly. "Arav Malik, you are under arrest." People around them stopped walking. Some took out their phones. Arav didn't move. His mother screamed, "What has he done? He's a soldier! He just came from the border!" Karan didn't answer. He just grabbed Arav's arms and forced them behind his back. The cuffs clicked, tight, public, loud. Arav said nothing. His face didn't change, only his eyes. They looked somewhere far, as if remembering something. Before being pushed into the van, he whispered one name. "Colonel Yadav." No one understood what it meant, but he said it like it mattered, like it was a key. Inside the van, Arav sat, silently. His hands were cold. The police officer sitting across from him stared. "You think wearing that uniform makes you clean?" he asked. Arav didn't answer, but a flashback came into his mind. A dark night, gunshots, a screaming child, and a radio order. "Do not report this!" His hands clenched. Later that day, news spread like fire. Army soldier arrested. At station. No charges shared. Social media exploded. People argued. Some said he must be guilty. Others called it a mistake. But no one knew the truth. Not yet. Nazia sat outside the police station, shivering in the cold rain. No one would tell her anything. She held his photo close to her chest. In the photo, he was smiling, proud, clean, a hero. In a small cafe, a young journalist named Sarah watched the video. She paused it on the moment Arav was handcuffed. Something about the soldier's silence, his calm. It didn't feel like guilt. It felt like he was protecting something. She opened her notebook and wrote, "Find Colonel Yadav." She didn't know it yet, but that one name would change her life. Meanwhile, in a hidden office far from the city, a man in uniform watched the arrest footage. His hands shook. He picked up a phone and made one call. He said, "My name?" The voice asked. "Yes, sir," came the answer. There was a pause. Then the voice spoke with fear. "Then it's too late." Back in the small police cell, Arav finally closed his eyes. He wasn't thinking about jail. He wasn't thinking about the cameras or the noise outside. He was thinking about that little boy during the last mission, the one with blood on his shirt and fear in his eyes. Arav had disobeyed an order that night, not because he wanted to, but because it was the right thing to do. And now, the truth was chasing him. The police station was quiet at night, but inside, everything was chaos. Phones were ringing. Reporters were shouting outside the gates. Cameras flashed through the bars. Yet, in the middle of all this noise, Arav Malik sat silently in his cell, looking down at the floor. He still wore his army uniform. Dirty now, wet from the rain. His medals were gone, taken by the officers like they meant nothing. But he didn't complain. He didn't speak. He didn't even ask why he was there. Because he already knew. Outside, his mother, Natsia, waited all night. She sat on the cold bench with a small bag of food in her hand. The officer at the gate didn't let her in. "Just let me see him," she begged. But the officer shrugged. "We don't have orders for visitors." "What has he done?" she cried. "What crime? He's a soldier." "No one told us," the officer said. "Not even the inspector knows." It made no sense. How could a man be arrested without a charge? The next morning TVs were filled with headlines. "Hero or traitor, soldier arrested without explanation. No statement from Army HQ. Why is Arav Malik silent?" On social media, the public was divided. Some said he was wrongly accused. Others said, if they arrested him in uniform, there must be a reason. But no one had answers, not even his lawyer. Inside the jail, a junior officer brought Arav some tea. As he placed the cup down, he whispered, "Sir, I saw your medal ceremony on TV last year." Arav gave a tired smile. Times change. The young officer looked around nervously and asked, "Did you really do something wrong?" Arav looked at him. His voice was low but clear. "I didn't do what they asked me to. I did what I had to." Sarah, the journalist at the same time, Sarah Khan, a sharp young journalist, was digging into Arav's past. She was not like other reporters. She didn't care about gossip. She wanted the truth. She visited his hometown, talked to his teachers, his friends, his old commander. All of them said the same thing. Arav was honest. He followed rules. He loved the country. But something strange happened. When she asked about his last mission, the one before he came home, everyone went quiet. One man, an ex-soldier, said, "I can't talk. It's dangerous. But if he's arrested, it's because he saw something they want to hide." Sarah was now sure. This wasn't just a simple case. Back in jail, a senior officer entered Arav's cell with a paper in his hand. "This is your official charge," he said. Arav took the paper. His hands didn't shake. He read it slowly. Leaking, classified information, putting national security at risk. He folded the paper and said nothing. The officer asked, "Do you deny it?" Arav looked him in the eye. "Do you even know what I saw?" Flashback. The last mission. It was a village near the border. Arav and his unit were sent there to clear hostile elements. But what he saw was different. There were no enemies, just villagers, women, children. One of his senior officers, Colonel Yadav, gave a terrible order. "Burn the huts. Leave no witnesses." Arav refused. He argued. But the others followed the command. Arav saved one child, hid him in the jeep, then wrote a full report and submitted it through the official army system. But the report disappeared. And the colonel, he got a promotion. Now, in the present, Sarah finally found someone, a wounded soldier who had been there with Arav. His name was Imran. He didn't want to talk at first. But when Sarah said, "Arav may go to jail for life," Imran agreed to meet. His hands shook as he spoke. "Arav saved that child. He tried to stop them, and that's why they're doing this to him." Sarah recorded the full interview. She knew this could change everything, or get her killed. In court. First hearing, Arav was brought to court in handcuffs. His mother sat in the back. When their eyes met, he gave her a small nod. She tried to stay strong. The judge asked, "Do you understand the charges?" Arav replied, calmly, "Yes, Your Honor. Do you wish to say anything?" Arav looked at the camera crews, at the police, and then at the crowd. "I only want to ask one question. he said. "Since when did telling the truth become a crime?" The courtroom fell silent. Outside the courtroom, Sarah stood holding the video of Imran's interview on a flash drive. She looked at her phone. An unknown number sent her a message. "Stop now. You don't know who you're fighting." She took a deep breath and replied, "I know exactly who I'm fighting." She pressed upload. The video had now been online for 6 hours. In that short time, it had been watched over 3 million times. The recording of Imran, the wounded soldier, was raw and emotional. His voice trembled. His eyes were full of pain, but his words were powerful. He saved that boy. He stopped them. And now, they want to silence him. The nation was shocked. Some people cried. Some got angry. Others stayed silent. But their silence was no longer neutral. It was heavy. But inside the walls of power, that silence turned into fear. In a government office, Colonel Yadav sat in his private office watching the video over and over again. He clenched his jaw. "This is bad," his assistant said. Yadav didn't blink. He picked up his phone and called someone. "I told you to stop this journalist," he said in a low, sharp voice. "We tried, sir," the man replied. "She's careful. And now, too many eyes are watching her." There was a pause. Then Yadav said, "Then we go after the one in the shadows, the man she hasn't found yet." Sarah's investigation deepens. Sarah had now become more than just a reporter. She was a threat. Everywhere she went, she felt eyes on her. Strange cars followed her. One night, her doorbell rang at 2 a.m., but no one was there. Still, she didn't stop. She had one goal now: find the missing piece. She knew Imran's voice had started a fire, but it was not enough. The system was strong. Arav's truth was buried under layers of lies. She believed there was one man who knew everything. His name had come up once, just once: Captain Farouk. Who was Captain Farouk? No photos, no address, not even a full record. He was Arav's commanding officer during one of the earliest missions. Sarah found a half-burned file in an old military database. It said only one thing: transferred after border incident, 2019, location unknown. The video had changed everything. News channels played clips from Captain Farouk's confession again and again. Anchor after anchor said the same words. This is no longer just about one soldier. This is about the system. People on the streets were angry. Not just angry, heartbroken. They had always believed in one thing: the uniform stands for truth. But now, they were asking, what happens when the truth wears a uniform and still gets punished? Inside the courtroom, Arav Malik stood in front of the judge once again. The courtroom was packed. Reporters, army officials, civilians, even students filled the seats. All eyes were on him. The prosecutor spoke first. "Your Honor, this man leaked classified information. He went against direct orders. He disrespected the chain of command." Arav didn't flinch. The judge turned to him. "Do you have anything to say in your defense?" Arav stepped forward. Calm. Firm. His voice was low but carried through the room. "I didn't break the rules. I followed the real ones, the ones written in our hearts, the ones that say, protect the weak. Stand by the truth." He looked at the prosecutor. "If that makes me a criminal, I accept it." Gasps filled the courtroom. Cameras clicked, but the judge said nothing. Not yet. Sarah's life in danger. Meanwhile, Sarah was not safe anymore. She had received 3 warnings. One car had followed her for 2 nights. Her editor begged her to stop. "You've done enough," he said. "Let it go now." But she shook her head. "If I stop now, it means the truth loses." She knew she was being watched. She changed phones, changed routes, slept in different places each night. But still, she kept going. Her next goal: find the boy Arav saved, the boy no one had seen, the boy who had disappeared, because if she could find him, the last piece of the puzzle would be complete. In the Army headquarters, Colonel Yadav paced in his office. His face was pale. The report said public opinion was turning. Some junior officers had refused to follow cover-up orders. One even submitted a new report, asking for Arav's release. It was falling apart. He picked up his phone and called someone. "Get rid of the journalist," he said, "and burn every file connected to the Jewel mission. I don't care how." But outside his office, another officer overheard the call. His name was Lieutenant Raj, and for weeks he had been silently watching. Now he knew what he had to do. Back in jail, Arav was allowed 10 minutes with his lawyer. The lawyer whispered, "There's news. A few Army officers are starting to speak up. The public is with you now." Arav looked surprised. "But I didn't ask them to do anything," he said. His lawyer smiled. "You didn't need to. Sometimes, silence becomes a louder voice than shouting." Sarah tracks the boy. After searching records, old CCTV footage, and talking to villagers, Sarah finally found something. A video from 3 years ago. A charity event. Among the children, one face matched the drawing she had made. She froze the video. It was him. The boy was alive, older now, maybe 12 or 13, living in a government shelter under a different name. She rushed to the shelter, but when she arrived, the room was empty. The staff said, "2 men came yesterday. They said they were transferring him to a better place." Sarah's heart sank. She knew what that meant. They were trying to make the last witness disappear. A letter from the past back at Sarah's office. An envelope arrived. No name, no address, just one line. "He trusted you. I hope you deserve it." Inside was a letter. Old, torn, handwritten. It was from Arav, written the night of the mission, hidden in a file, never delivered. In it, he wrote, "Dear Command, I disobeyed orders today, not because I wanted to be a hero, but because I saw fear in a child's eyes. And I remembered my own eyes many years ago. I will take whatever punishment comes, but I cannot walk away from my own heart." Sarah held the letter close. Tears filled her eyes. This was it. Proof of his honesty, of his humanity. Lieutenant Raj joins the fight. Meanwhile, the officer who overheard Colonel Yadav's call, Lieutenant Raj, came forward. He contacted Sarah through a secure channel. "Have recordings," he said, "of Yadav's calls, orders to destroy evidence, orders to silence witnesses." Sarah couldn't believe it. Now she had everything. The story, the victim, the witness, the villain, the proof. All that was left was the final battle. Public support explodes. The hashtag Justice for Arav was now trending worldwide. Protests began outside the Army HQ. Veterans came forward. One old officer said on live TV, "I served for 30 years. I saw brave men, but Arav Malik, he is the soldier I wish I had been." It had been 3 years. 3 long years since the cold night when gunshots echoed through the village near River Jewel. 3 years since Arav Malik, dressed in his army uniform, had carried a trembling child out of a burning house. The child had no name, no family, just fear in his eyes and blood on his shirt. That child was now the most important person in the country, and he was missing. Sarah's search continues. Sarah sat alone in her car, watching the sun go down behind the hills. Her eyes were tired, her mind racing. She had come so close to finding the boy, but now he had vanished. They took him. They're hiding him. Maybe even worse. She couldn't let her thoughts go dark. Not now. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Lieutenant Raj. "I found a name. Fake ID used to move the boy. I'm sending it now. But be careful. They know you're getting close. Sarah opened the file. Name: Zaid. Age: 13. Location: unknown shelter near city border. It wasn't much, but it was a thread, and she was ready to follow it. Zaid's life in hiding. The boy known as Zaid sat on the floor of a small locked room. A man came in twice a day, once with food, once with warnings. Don't try to run. Don't talk to anyone. You are nobody. But Zaid remembered. He remembered a man in a dusty uniform who had picked him up when everyone else ran away. He remembered hiding under a bed while gunshots tore through the walls. And he remembered the voice, that calm, warm voice. Don't be afraid. I'm here. I'll keep you safe. That voice belonged to Arav Malik. Zaid didn't know what had happened after that. He had been moved from place to place. New names, new rules, no truth. But now he was ready to speak. The escape late that night. A guard came into Zaid's room, drunk and careless. He forgot to lock the door. Zaid waited for 5 minutes, then stepped out silently. He tiptoed past the sleeping guards, down a hallway, through a broken window, and into the night. He didn't know where to go, but he knew one thing. I need to find the man in the video. He had seen the video. The woman, Sarah, had shown his rescuer's face. He didn't remember the name, but he remembered the eyes. Sarah finds him first at dawn. Sarah reached the city border and started asking around near old shelters. She showed the photo. Again and again. Most people shook their heads until finally an old tea seller said, "Yes, I saw him. He ran through here, looked scared, went toward the mosque." Sarah ran. She turned corners, shouting his name. "Zaid! Zaid!" a voice called back. "I'm here." And there he was, dirty, tired, but alive. The interview, Sarah and Zaid sat in a small, safe house. She gave him warm food and water. Then gently she asked, "Do you remember the man who saved you?" Zaid nodded. "I don't remember his name," he said. "But he gave me his jacket. He told me I was brave." She showed him a photo. Zaid's eyes lit up. "Yes, that's him. That's the soldier." Sarah's hands trembled. She hit record on her camera. "Zaid, will you tell the world your story?" He looked scared. Then he nodded. "I want to help him. He didn't let me die. I won't let them lie." The boy speaks that evening, Sarah, released a new video. The Boy Who Remembered, The Last Witness Speaks. Zaid sat in front of the camera, small but strong. His words were simple. "People came to our village. They had guns. I heard my mother scream. Then there was fire. A soldier came in. He picked me up. He hid me. Later, I saw him fighting other soldiers. I don't know why they were angry at him. But he saved me. I'm alive because of him." That was it. The video was only 4 minutes long, but in those 4 minutes, the world broke open. National uproar, people cried in front of screens. "Mama, that boy is like me," one child said. Families who had lost loved ones in past army raids came forward. More witnesses. More stories. The government tried to stop the wave, but it was too late. You can silence a man, you can even hide a child, but you cannot stop truth once it finds its voice. Arav in prison, Arav was brought to a small room for questioning. He expected more punishment. Instead, he saw a TV playing the video of Zaid. The guard didn't say anything, just left him alone. Arav watched the boy's face, listened to his soft voice, and then he smiled. Not because he was free, but because the truth was. Colonel Yadav panics. Colonel Yadav knew the game was over. Lieutenant Raj's leaks. Captain Farouk's confession. Zaid's interview. He deleted files, burned papers, tried to run. But the news had already named him. Mastermind behind Jewel cover-up exposed. He was arrested trying to board a flight out of the country. His last words before being taken away, "I built the system, but I forgot. People are stronger than systems." The prosecutor stood up first. He wore a sharp black suit and a colder face. "Your Honor," he began, "this man, despite wearing the respected uniform of our army, went against direct orders during a military operation. He leaked confidential information, he met with a journalist, and he disrespected his commanding officer." Arav sat still. He didn't blink, didn't speak, because he knew this fight wasn't just his anymore. The defense Arav's lawyer stood up. He was younger, less polished, but his voice carried weight. "Your Honor," he said calmly, "my client saved a child's life." He stopped. The rain had stopped. The sky was clear, and Arav Malik, once a prisoner, now a symbol of truth, stood quietly at the edge of a schoolyard, watching children run and laugh. Among them was Zaid. No guards, no fear, just freedom. A new life begins, it. Had been 6 months since the trial. Arav no longer wore his army uniform. He had folded it neatly, placed it inside a wooden box, and kept it safe. Not out of shame, but out of respect. "The uniform served its purpose," he once told Sarah. "But now, I serve something even greater." The Center for Truth Arav's small idea had grown into something big. His training center, the Brave Truth, had become a place where soldiers, police officers, and even journalists came to learn. Not about weapons, but about courage, real courage, the kind that speaks when everyone else is silent, the kind that costs you everything, and still feels right. Zaid's healing Zaid had started school. His nightmares had faded. His laughter had returned. Every evening he sat with Arav and asked questions. Why do people lie? Why do bad men wear good uniforms? Arav never gave simple answers, but he always gave honest ones. And slowly Zaid began to believe in the world again. "You saved my life," the boy said one day. Arav smiled. "No," he replied. "You gave mine a new meaning." Sarah's story, Sarah's video series, The Soldier Who Spoke, had gone viral across the world. She was invited to talk shows, interviews, even global human rights panels. But she refused the spotlight. Instead, she created a foundation for children affected by military violence. "I told one story," she said, "but there are thousands more." She continued reporting, not just news, but truth, real truth, and wherever she went, she carried a photo of a soldier kneeling beside a child, of Arav and Zaid. Colonel Yadav's. Fate Colonel Yadav was sentenced to 12 years in prison. In court, he said only one thing before the doors closed. "The system made me cruel, but I chose to stay cruel. That was my crime." Nobody celebrated his fall because the pain he caused had already changed too many lives. But his punishment showed something important, that even powerful men are not above justice. A visit from the president one morning. Arav received a letter, an invitation to the presidential house. At first, he refused. "I'm no hero," he told Sarah, but she convinced him. So he went. And in the large white hall, the president of the nation stood and said, "You reminded us that the badge means nothing if the heart behind it is not pure. Thank you, Lieutenant Malik, for reminding this country what honor truly looks like." The crowd stood and clapped, but Arav just bowed his head, quietly, humbly. Years later. 10 years passed. The city changed. People changed. But one story remained in hearts and classrooms, the story of a soldier, a child, and the truth that refused to die. Zaid had grown up. He became a writer. His first book was titled The Man in the Rain. It opened with one line. He didn't know my name, but he risked his life to protect it. The book became a national bestseller. Children read it in schools. Soldiers read it in camps. And Arav? He read it alone, sitting under the same tree where he first saw Zaid smile. The sun was rising. A soft breeze touched the trees outside the quiet town of Barinagar, where an old training center still stood strong. Its gates had faded with time, but the sign was clear, the brave truth, founded by Leond Arav Malik. Inside, young students trained not just their bodies, but their hearts, because they were learning something rare, how to protect with honor, how to lead with truth. Arav's final class, Arav Malik, now older, walked slowly into the training hall. His hair was gray, his steps gentle, but his eyes were sharp as ever. Dozens of students stood at attention. They respected him not for his medals, but for his story. He sat down and looked at them. "You've all learned how to shoot, how to march, how to lead," he said. "Now I'll teach you how to stand alone when the whole world says sit." The hall was silent. No one looked away, because they knew. This was not just a lesson. This was history speaking. Zaid returns. That evening, Zaid arrived at the center. He was no longer a boy. He was a young man now, strong, tall, with a calm voice and a kind smile. He hugged Arav tightly. "I came to speak to the students," he said. "They need to hear it from me, too." Arav nodded. He had always known this day would come. Zaid stood before the class and began. "When I was little, I saw pain, fire, and fear, but I also saw one man standing between death and me. He didn't ask my name. He didn't wait for orders. He just did the right thing." He paused. "And because of that, I am alive. And because of him, I believe." Some students wiped their eyes. Some just stood frozen, because now they understood. The lessons were not from books. They were from lives. Sarah's final interview. Meanwhile, Sarah prepared for her last documentary. After years of reporting across war zones, refugee camps, and courts, she was retiring. Her last film was called Arav, the Man, the Mission, the Memory. She interviewed officers, journalists, students, and survivors. But her final scene was special. She sat with Arav under the tree near the center, the same tree where he and Zaid used to talk. "Do you regret anything?" she asked gently. Arav looked away for a moment, then answered, "No. I lost my rank. I lost my peace for a while, but I found my truth, and that gave others their voice." He looked at the camera, his eyes soft. "And I think that's enough for one life." The Peace Award 1 year later, Arav Malik was awarded the Global Peace Medal. The citation read, "For protecting truth when it was dangerous, for saving lives with no reward, for proving that one man can change the system, without violence, without power, just with courage." He was too ill to attend, so Zaid accepted it on his behalf. He held the medal up high and said, "He didn't just save me. He saved the part of this country that still believes in justice."